Welcome back to everybody who is here. If you remember, it was a couple of weeks ago where myself and brother Dion Haskell were having conversation on the men's convocation at Prevailing International with Men with the Mantle. My name is Mr. Rodney Benet. We have brother Dion Haskell on. We were super excited at what was going to happen. We had a chance to have conversation with some of the brothers that were there, and we wanted to be able to recap what happened. I can be honest to tell you, this was by far, in my opinion, amazing beyond words that we can ever explain. Brother Dion, anything you want to add on there?
All I can say is that the flame for me at the altar is still lit, man. It was great. It was good to be in the presence of God. It was good to be in the presence of my brothers in arms. And, you know, the good thing is that we got a lot of information. It's time to go out and put it to use. So.
All right, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to try to find a way to pull this all together to give you a snapshot of what it looked like. I think we have a video that's queued out that will show just a little bit, a snippet of what it was like. And I can honestly tell you, if you went on the scene, the screen will give you some version of it, but we'll see if we can get it. We can get the video queued up.
When you walk in purpose, God calls it worship. When you walk in purpose, heaven shouts, that's worship. So just because you do this, God could be saying perversion. Because worship, God says, is when you're like me. When you are fulfilling purpose, watch, by the Spirit of God, he says that's worship. The question is, are you a true worshiper or are you a waster of worship?
You can't be who God calls you to be if you don't believe it. If you don't see it first in the Word, you will never see it second in the world.
You got to be willing to stand on his word and realize that God is faithful. He's not going to forget you. Even if he has to send somebody who is coming from way somewhere else, he'll remember you.
When you've been walking with God long enough and you understand Koah and you understand Or and you've truly been filled with the fullness of God and you are intentional about growing, we don't have to keep coming back presenting our bodies as sacrifices, brother. We've already made the sacrifice. At this point, it just is what it is.
God told me to share with you that your qualities that make you different from others, that is where your increase is.
But hold up. Wait a minute. Faith without works.
Come on, sir.
And that's all I know.
Let me be the first to tell you. That was just a short snippet, and I get chills just remembering being at every single one of those sessions where things were just happening and moving in such a way that just didn't make sense, and things were moving. So there was something special that was done while we were on screen, while we were there, and I thank our apostle for doing this. He was able to honor several men with the Bishop Ben Jabert Award. And I want to be able to bring up two individuals who are near and dear to me, who exemplify what it means to be a man with a call to duty, a call to conquer type of an individual. I'm going to bring up Pastor Will Bantam, and I'm going to bring up Brother Mike Johnson. These two men were honored with the inaugural the inaugural awards. And I'm going to take a step back and I'm going to let them kind of share what it felt like to be in that space, to be honored with such an amazing award. Gentlemen, the floor is yours.
Well,
Pastor Will, out of respect.
Praise God. Thank you, sir. For me, the award was important. But what really got me was Apostle Haskell was a brother. He knew his character. He knew his and Bishop Ben, Apostle Haskell was Bishop Haskell back then, and so I think it meant to me because he knew what Bishop poured into me. He knew the impartation. He knew the development of the preparation process, all of those things that went on in the relationship. And for me, my only desire was knew that Bishop Ben had a God-ordained assignment in my life, and that he would be a significant part of my preparation process for me to develop, for me to mature, for me to learn what I needed to learn to be able to walk out the purpose that God has for me. So my desire has been for me to live my life in such a way that what poured into me or God's in him in my life comes to pass. So the big piece to me was I received the award as saying, Apostle Haskell sees me doing that. Apostle Haskell sees me living my life in a way that, one, Bishop would be proud, the son proud. He sees me walking in a way valuing, honoring what Bishop poured in my life and living my life such that God's intent for that whole ordained interaction, that whole ordained relationship comes to pass. So that, that was the big piece, that he recognizes that I don't always see it. We're human and we have our ups and downs, but for him to see it and recognize it, that just made it more of a significant piece in my life. And it's right here on my desk. So now, in my office, now I'm looking at it. Now I'm remembering. I don't feel that, but then say I don't have to feel it to recognize that I may not feel that, but I am that.
Brother Mike, I'm gonna let you follow up with that situation. What comes after that, Brother Mike's up to you, sir.
That was definitely a setup. I should have went first. Just like I think you guys set me in, I followed Pastor Will. As to the same sentiment in terms of Bishop Ben with a personal relationship, but just being around and being with the men of valor, being with everyone else. And surprised me because I'm the guy behind this. I don't choose to be in front of him. For him to see that I've been there, I've overcome, and I was able to kind of help at the time called a Conquer to Prevailing Church International. For him, you're the one that's kind of helping us up. I'm sorry, I'm breaking up.
Just a little, brother. Just a little.
Yeah. I'm sorry. All right. Let me know if you can't hear me. But I was saying, truly breathtaking and surprising that things in me that I didn't even see myself. To the extent that I looking at myself and saying I am, and from that purpose, from that standpoint, it was successful not only in the outside the church. So now I'm looking at my introspect and look at things that I'm doing now. Because obviously, Apostle Haskell, who sees more than I see, being in alignment with what he sees, going to be more and more each day, every time I step outside of my house, and with my family. So that award me, it totally surprised me even more. And I have to put my foot out there. I have to do the work and order to make sure, show my appreciation, show my, how do I say it? I truly, the award, but more than the one, honor the presence, honor the Bishop Ben Jabert, who was definitely, like I said, I never had a personal, but the encounters that I had with him were breath. I still listen to some of his messages today that I still listen to just because of, and as you encounter. So, Pastor Will, I appreciate this opportunity, and I love Haskell for surprising me once again.
I'll tell you, even as we have some minor technical difficulties, you hear the heart of these men who exemplified what it means to be a man who is called to conquer, to be a man who is called to duty, who has stood on the line and made this possible. If you sat in a room with Pastor Bantam for 10 minutes, you have 15 pages of notes. If you're with Mike Johnson for a short amount of time, he'll give you another perspective, another way of looking at things, and to see this thing kind of unfold with the inaugural, because there will never be a first. These are the first 6 years of men that will be in this place where they're able to get this information. Please, guys, do not forget to like, share, and comment. Send this information out to as many people as possible. I'm gonna bring up some more men because I want to get a different perspective on those that are there. Okay, Pastor Bantam, I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna do things. One thing is my issue with the piece was y'all didn't give me enough time to gather myself before you took the picture. So I'm you probably would have took 10 to 15. I'm all on the picture crying and everything, So that was my only piece. Mike, I tell you what really got the apostles' heart, because generally the people out front are the people that get noticed, But his heart, the people out in front can't do what they do. They can't look like they look. Things don't work like they work for them. Without you, the minister Eddies, the people are in the background doing the hard work, doing the smart work. For us to get up and say, and just to have that opportunity to flow in it. So, just thinking about it from that perspective, I was amazed that not only does he recognize that, but I've never seen anybody honor that like that before, and that was a big deal to me.
If I could say real quick, it's an honor award, and you guys have not only honored, Bishop Ben, but also Apostle. And for myself, selfishly, I got to see the reaction. I was on the side. I got to see your face, the hugs. Mike, I got to see you, and it was a pleasure. So it was definitely one of my favorite moments of the convocation as well.
Amen.
And I definitely want to add another congratulations to Elder Marcus Waters, who was, again, the third recipient of this. If you know these men, spend time with these men, they live and breathe this call to conquer mentality. Right. They live and breathe this men with the mentor. They live and breathe this call to duty. And it's important because they show the heartbeat of what this is all about. So I'm gonna bring a couple of more men on that were that was integral, that spoke earlier. I want to get their pieces. I'll bring on Pastor Terrence Hall, Pastor Jonathan Coleman, Minister Cameron Benson, and Minister Eddie Seaton onto the screen so we can share, because again, you have no idea how important and impactful this was. So I'm gonna take a step back and open up the floor. I'm gonna open the floor to those of you who are here. Share with me what it was like on the scene, because we see the recap. What was it like on the scene when you were there and you watched every piece of this thing going down? What was your impression?
Oh man, I'll start. feel like this happened already, right? Did I start last time?
You did. You did.
Okay, I'm used to being a trailblazer, right? So, no, it's to be there, watching online for those who had to. I get it. Those who will buy the videos, I get it. But to be there, you got to be in the room to like what you feel. And kudos to Mike and the media team. Yes, I'm a part of, full disclosure, I'm a part of the media team. But kudos to Mike and the media team, those who were able to bring as much of the feeling into the homes of others as you did. Kudos to you all. But just being there, feeling the energy, feeling the presence of God, being able to have all of the senses engrossed in the experience, the worship experience. It is, you got to be there. You got to be. If you've ever been there, you understand what I'm saying. If you've never been there, you will have to be next time. But it's just, you actually can feel the love, and it's going to sound crazy. You can feel the love. You can see the love. You can touch the love. Nobody paused me on that, but you can touch the love. You can smell the love. Like all of the senses are involved in being there, and it's really genuine. And again, the screen is amazing, but it doesn't tell the full story. It's kind of like, we all read the Bible and we all have a relationship with God. But we still don't have the same experience that the disciples had when they walked with Jesus. We still don't have the same experience that Moses had when he talked with God. And we have great experience with God. We have a great relationship with him, but we don't have that. So when you have the opportunity to be in the room, ain't nothing else like it. And I'm going to shut up.
Well, you was preaching, Doc. I'm a go. I think I say this every year, but this was the best one since the last year Bishop Ben was with us, in my opinion. This was a powerful time, just to see all the men from across the globe in one room, just going after God. That was so powerful to me, because even though we get to see it every year, once a year, but it was just something about the atmosphere in this place. And to have Apostle Haskell assemble a team and Bishop John assemble a team like he assembled this year, like, brothers that I've never even heard about. Pastor, I believe he's Pastor Marcus Gill, if I'm not mistaken. I've never heard this gentleman a day in my life, and he was powerful.
Awesome.
You know what I mean? I know all the other brothers who was on the who was on the flyer, besides Bishop Hannah. Even he led the way as far as being the MC. So, shout out to Bishop Hannah. Pastor Trev, I know I'm not the only one. You know what I mean? Them day sessions, man. The day sessions is what they are. That's if you are anywhere in around this tri-state area, or you can't even say tri-state area now, because we had a lot of brothers from Detroit this year. And shout out to the brothers from Detroit who drove from Detroit to Delaware to be in this atmosphere. Man, I'm telling you, I had an awesome time just being there. I'm gonna hop in before the next one goes. I'll tell you that it was almost as if everyone who spoke had a microphone inside your house, and they did surgery on what was needed for you to be able to be in a different space. Now, mind you, Bishop John tore me apart, and it was necessary. I had a conversation with my wife, literally, either that day or the day before, of everything he spoke about that night. So when you look at that thing, you come together, you start working and dealing through it, you see a whole nother perspective, because again, as men, we were able to take our armor off and deal with the wounds that we've been dealing with for so long and nobody really knew about. And that was paramount. Anyone else?
My perspective, this was my first in with the man of Convocation. The word that comes to mind for me is organic. I feel like you know, through years of being in church, especially when it comes to like men's ministry, it's kind of forced and it's just kind of something that needs to be done. But with this, you knew that it was organic, the fellowship, the word, a men's convocation done in excellence, every detail. You could tell that intentionally it was done in excellence, and just to see men come together vulnerable before God, laying before God, giving their all, not being concerned with their ego, whatever their reputation is. We just giving this to God and allowing God to work through the word, through the worship, through the praise, through the fellowship. I mean, the great times we had at the Legends Diner, getting to know brothers in Christ and being in unity, man, it definitely edified me, and I know it edified a lot of others. So yeah, that was my perspective.
I think the word that comes to mind to me is intimate. You know, having that intimate relationship with God, and I know sometimes men don't talk about that, but that was so good about the day session. You could go in there and take your mask off and just be open with the Lord. So, but to come in and just have to see men who were really reaching out to God, men who just threw up their hands and you know, when we had to work, you know, even in the men praying, because you know we wanted to make sure that the men were leading the worship. So coming in and just having that prayer time, and then joining with the brothers from Victory and having them pray, and just watching the men pray their hearts out and lead everybody into worship, that to me was awesome. It was an intimate relationship where we came in and we just lifted up our hands, and we didn't care who saw us. You know, Apostle said after living on the altar that we were going to roll right over into, you know, Called to Conquer, and how powerful it was going to be. And then to understand that we were called to duty. And the biggest thing for me was the first night with Bishop John, when he talked about how God created us from the end and worked backwards. And you understood the mistakes that we made, but yet still with all of that, when I think about my life, when I think about the things that I've done, to think about the things that I messed up, he still took me all the way back to the beginning, and he anointed me and said, I can use him. And it reminds me of the man of God when he preached, broken crayons still can color. No matter what you go through, the purpose of understanding that I got to walk this thing out before the Lord, and the mercies of God that ride my life, to come into that place and being able to be excited about being there, be excited about having the relationship with other brothers, watching them come in, the questions that the men were asking about, you know, dealing with relationships, what it is to be fathers. And we just fed off each other and just learned from one another. And like Pastor Trev said, it's too many of us who are going through the same thing, but we left there with a different perspective, to come back to our houses, to have an intimate relationship with God, and then teaching us how to serve our wives, how to serve our kids. Awesome time. And I was just really blessed,
If I could say something real quick, you guys said a couple words. You said edify. For me, I felt safe. You know, Elder Maurice and, you know, Pastor Coleman, just the way they set the table for the atmosphere. As soon as you walk in the building, just hearing the voices and hearing the passion and just the way things were led, it just was great for me. And then, you know, I was at the altar every night, front and center, every day and night. And again, just around the people I was around, like I mentioned this before, and I've been to basketball games, wrestling events, all kinds of football games, but the amount of the love and the energy I felt from just being around those 30, 40, 50 people at the altar, it by far surpassed anything else I've ever been around. So that's my little 2 cents as well.
I would have to agree with you, because, you know, as you said, Elder Maurice Brown, that boy, every time I get a chance, boy, I wish I could sing. If I could sing like that brother, I wouldn't even be on the screen. I wouldn't even be on the screen with y'all right now, man.
He's watching right now too, so if you want to tell him, he's watching right now.
Yeah, and Pastor Coleman, you good too, Doc. You know what I mean? So I ain't even gonna hold you, man. I was like, boy, they I missed that one, boy. The Lord skipped me in that line. I don't know.
You and me both.
I'm gonna throw something out there. I remember because alongside with Minister Eddie and then Brother Mike, I do media as well, and I'm looking Friday night, seeing a sea of nothing but camouflage. It was almost like the movie 300. And we got together, as Minister Cam is showing off. We got together and we made a decision to all unify at that one moment that we were going to walk away differently. That made so much value. But the important part is we brought our families there. Our families were going to be different from that moment. Our churches were going to be different from that moment. And it was something that was so different because we were able to have this conversation. We had locker room style, but then we brought our families together and said, from this point forward, we're no longer going to be the same. You have to be able to see the picture from the pulpit, seeing all the men in camouflage praying over their wives, praying over their sons, praying over their families. That was powerful beyond understanding. Now, I'm going to ask if there was one pivotal moment for you during the convocation. What was that one moment that hit for you that was different? Floor is open.
For me, I would say it was the day session when Dr. Seaton was talking about being careful not to isolate yourself. Sometimes you feel like you're going through and you're trying to be there for everybody else, but sometimes the enemy can try to put you in a place of isolation where you think you're the only one. But it's good to be around men of God that, the Lord won't allow you to have a pity party because you're around too many brothers to say, come on, man, get it together. We don't leave nobody on the battlefield. We're right there to pick one another up. We got your back. We got your six, no matter what you're going through. And not to get caught in that isolation part where you feel like you're the only one, but knowing that, hey, we got somebody here who's helping me make it. And that's what excites me when I can look at somebody else going, praising God and understand, listening to their testimony. And, some of the brothers, like the one brother he asked a question that made me think, how can I serve on a marriage ministry and I'm having marital issues myself, and then for Pastor John to minister to him like that helped out because he understood through you working on the ministry, you can get your own deliverance. And that's what the man of God apostle teaches us that all the time. You have to continue to do what you're doing. And even while you're going through, no matter what, because the call's on your life, you got to sometimes put your stuff on the back burner and just make sure that you're there to be a witness for somebody else. And you ministering to somebody else, God will work out your situation because you're not just so focused on that. So to hear that brother say that, to hear that brother talk about that, and even the brother who talked about losing his child and they were just so real and so open. That's the thing that I love. And Pastor Coleman, you talked about it. When they come in the room, they're safe because they're around people that they can talk and they ain't got to worry about nobody judging because it was too many people in the room for one person to be the only one going through that. So that was powerful for me.
I say the day sessions was surgery, man.
Absolutely.
It was surgery. Like a lot of brothers needed it. And just like you said, a lot of brothers came with some serious stuff, man, and found their deliverance, like some stuff that you wouldn't even think a man would feel comfortable about going to the microphone and saying around hundreds of men. That right there let me know that what we have at Prevailing Church International is a safe place.
A safe place.
Safe place.
It speaks to the environment. Is one thing because we breed that culture that it should be a safe place.
Culture. Yeah.
But even beyond that, it started there. It started with us, with our apostles setting that culture and us actually breeding it and promoting it and perpetuating it. But for men from other places, outsiders, to come in and actually feel that, identify with it, and run with it, says a lot because Pastor Hall didn't go into all of the detail of those two particular examples that he gave. We didn't share some of the other examples that came out of it. And guys were saying some, like you said, Minister Cam, some heavy stuff.
Yes.
I, transparent moment, don't know if I was going through that, would I share it with you guys?
Right.
Which is kind of scary to think because I consider you all brothers.
That's real.
But to have that level of comfort, and not just comfort and safety, but that feeling of desperation that I need to get delivered right now.
Yeah.
And again, the culture and the atmosphere set a place where people said, hey, this is it. It's now. And that's another thing, if because I cut myself short earlier, that's another thing that's important about being in the room is you get that this is now moment. You get like that woman with the issue of blood. I'm going to press and I'm going to get what I need in this moment. And I believe that that's really what happened through all of the time there, but especially in the day sessions, men were able to do that. And for those of you who only did it online, you didn't get to experience that. You didn't get to experience that. And my wish for you, my desire for you is that next year you're in the building. I don't want you to hold on to anything that you're going through. I feel like I'm closing and I'm not. I don't want you to hold on to anything that you're going through right now and wait for next year. No, I'm not saying that. But being in the room, if there's something that is challenging you, your deliverance is there.
Yeah.
I'll hop in and say that one of the biggest things that I noticed. I'm sorry, go ahead, Pastor Will.
Oh, no, you go ahead, sir.
One of the things I noticed was when there was a man who was going through a moment, he had brothers around him that would pray with him, that would stop what they're doing. They put their situation on pause to start to pray with that one brother who's going through a situation. So we were able to lock arms and make this thing happen on a different level. We were able to say, you know what, I understand your situation. I understand your pain. And as Pastor Trevor said, there's way too many men in this room, in this gathering, for you to be the only one that's going through that situation. So we're able to see that part of it, the humanity side of it. But the other part of it was I didn't have to come with a posture that I got to wash my back. Because I knew in the room, they would watch my back. In the room, I was able to let my guard down because I had brothers who would cover my back. I had brothers who would cover my side. So I can now be able to disarm the situation and be able to go forward and say, God, I need your help in this situation. And again, for me, it was Wednesday night when Bishop John, surgery. Are you a true worshiper?
Yeah.
And put us in a place where, as men, if we're not true worshipers, we can't expect our wives, we can't expect our children, we can't expect our churches to be true worshipers. But he did surgery. And there were things like I said, I talked to my wife literally the day before or 2 days ago, prior to that he spoke. But again, I was able to be vulnerable because I knew that it was a chief coming to rescue my situation and give me insight on what God was telling him for me.
That's good.
Because there were times I thought I was forgotten or ignored. But he made it clear that God still saw and he understood. So it was important to be able to be in a place where everybody felt comfortable to be able to let their guards down. Can we just talk as brothers? I don't have to be macho. I don't have to put on the front. I'm hurting. Can we talk about it and get some surgery on that?
Go ahead, Pastor Will, because I know you.
Yeah, I wrote it down, and then Eddie said that was my confirmation. I wrote down the environment sets the potential as to what, the environment sets the potential as to what could be experienced in the moment. So, that, I felt like, when you said what was the most significant thing, I felt like the environment was so potent that you couldn't miss it. That you couldn't miss it. I don't know where you are. I don't know what you were going through. It was so potent that scripture say, where the Spirit of the Lord is, there's what? And that's what we saw at the microphone. That's what we saw. Guards coming down, pretense coming down, because the environment was so important. I've utilized what they needed were in the room, you know, and all they had to do was ask for it.
Mm-hmm.
That was the, you know, going back to what
couldn't
you
have said it like that.
What'd you say, Miss Eddie?
I couldn't have said it like that.
Points I wrote
See,
down.
we're still having surgery. We're still having surgery. Now, but here's what's interesting about it.
Thing about, you know, I mean, you can get the information on the impartation, you know, and that's what you got to
preach all day right there, boy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw something out there. I know that we have a Dr. Seaton who did surgery on Friday morning. But when you have Josh who came in, he gave a different perspective from a younger level. And was able to kind of, because it wasn't just, because normally you would get that information from a general. But Josh came and said, wait a minute, here's another insight, another angle that we can look at this situation and be able to grow from it. So when he talked about how morning transitions and changes, it was a whole nother perspective. I said, wait a minute, I never thought of it that way. And I've heard a lot of different things about morning.
Yeah.
But he gave you an opportunity to be able to see it in a different perspective, but he was a younger guy who came in and gave another look at what we had dealing with, because a lot of men will probably deal with morning, but he was able to give us a different perspective, how it transitions, how we can heal and deal with situations.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
And if I can, you know, one other thing that really stood out to me, and I, you know, because of something that Pastor Will said a while back when we were teaching on Tuesday nights, through the convocation, I set my heart on we as the brothers who are here, basically, you know, we hold up the man of God. And I believe because of the budget that's just been in my heart, because of the budget and what took place, I remember, and I said something to Pastor Will when the men had did something for Bishop Ben. And I believe in my heart that next year, or I want us to get to the point that when the man of God talks about the budget, we, the people who are here, as the children of Israel held up the arms of Moses and they won the battle, we can say to our man of God, don't worry about the budget this year, sir, we got it. And know that we got it because we've seen it done. We've seen somebody come in and say, I got the budget. And no hesitation. And the man of God always said, money is not our problem. So I believe as we release our faith for what we want from God, the vision is going to grow through us because we're the ones who are holding up the arms of the man of God. We're the ones who are helping the other brothers. Not that they're not, all of them are not important, but I just believe my heart is set, and I can only work on me. My heart is set to the point, Lord, I'll write the check. You put it there, I'll write the check because I believe that much in my apostle for what he's developed. And as Minister Eddie said it, the culture of the ministry that every Sunday we come in there, we understand what Prevailing is all about. It's not just the name on the front of the building. It is who I am. My life, I prevail in my life over everything, my finances, my faith, my future. That's what he ingrained in us. And I believe that with all my heart. I want to get to the point that no matter what, I'm a kingdom financier. God, God, you can trust me with it. That's where I'm at. That's where my mindset. Because being in this kind of ministry, you think that.
Amen.
I just held my calculator up. There was 25 guys on the Tuesday calls. We got 11 months. $90 put up. You know, that's $1,000 down. It's $90 a month.
Wow.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Got 11 months. I'm in. I'm in.
Yes, sir.
I'm in.
I'm in too. I'm with it.
Yes, sir.
I'm with it.
Let's do it.
That's good.
You know, an apostle said, God can't get nothing to you if you got a closed hand. You got to open your hand and allow it to come out. There's no reason why we've been in this thing too long, man. That's just where I'm at. You know, I am blessed, but I'm blessed because of the ministry that we're under and because of the word of faith that was preached. I know where I came from. I know what my life was set up like. But because of people like Minister Cam who told me, here, you got to look at it like this. And I was like, okay, 10% go to the Lord, 10% come to me, they can fight over the 80. But I'm gonna make sure God get his first. And if that's the case, then I can speak his word back to say, Lord, I did my part. The rest is up to you. This is my desire, us as brothers, to make sure that we got the man of God. And then we can say, sir, you can call the apostle in. He can fly in. We got it.
Wow.
We got it. You ain't got to worry about that. We got it. That's just my faith. That's what I'm releasing my faith for.
I'm gonna tell you, it was beautiful to see how the release happened once the budget was hit, and from that point forward, I don't know if you men noticed, the floodgate just opened, and it was a different atmosphere. The minute that budget was hit, and we didn't have to worry about it anymore, we were able to now have an open opportunity where God could pour in and do something completely different.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say here, there was an infusion done at the convocation where, as it was said, Elder Maurice says, men were so desperate not to go back home the same way they came. That infusion that happened, it's like having a hot cup of water. You put that tea bag in there. That water will not be the same. The minute that tea bag hits the water and it infuses it changes the water itself. What happened at this convocation, the men would change to the point where they went back so different. I had brothers from Detroit that I sat with at the lunch table on Friday. They said, we got to call the other men from Detroit to come in because they can't miss this part. This was their infusion. This was our halftime to get into the locker room and handle business before we go back out again. They need to collect all the other brothers and listen, if we got to charter a bus or whatever we got to do, we're going to get everyone back infused because this was what we needed to go back home and do what we needed.
I'll say this, though, and I love to see our brothers from Detroit, and I'm so godly proud that Pastor Will is with us, partner with us, because I believe that he's going to be the one to get them all back with us, because it was a nice handful there at the convocation, and it just I don't know. One of the brothers was like, "Man, I've been missing this," and that right there made me like, "Wow, we here, we still going, we ready. Come on home."
I appreciate the I appreciate the hit, but what happened is going to be what bring those guys back. I mean, I remember when Bishop Ben first started and everything that went into trying to create the environment, and I just don't want you guys to miss this. When I say create the environment, guys are part of what everything that the environment didn't just happen. One person didn't just do the environment. It took everybody stepping into their roles, fulfilling their roles. We talk about the potency of the environment. That's the environment that you guys set, environment that you set up. I mean, I'll tell you, it's not like I travel or not, but I've never been treated so well. I've never so well. My wife honored so well. You guys create. Detroit was crying. Was just crying. I mean, when talk after one night, he was just crying. Elder Cordell couldn't even go up and speak to Apostle. He said, I'm too emotional tonight. Elder Cordell, when they were in college, Elder Cordell was the oldest. Pastor Ben and Pastor Gerald, they lived with him. So this is a guy that goes way, 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 way back. He said he Bishop honored like that anywhere. This is Elder Cordell. He just cried, man. He said, I know what I'm doing every year during this time. Clyde just cried. So I appreciate you saying, look, I mean, they came and got what they need. Y'all set up the environment. We flew in and did our thing and flew out. You guys were weeks ahead of time, months ahead ahead of time, putting things. Yeah. That's what it takes. I just don't want us to get past the fact that you could not have happened. Let's stay with the convocation mode. That could not have happened if you guys hadn't answered your individual calls to duty.
Wow. Amen.
I'm gonna throw this out here. It's kind of interesting. I was looking at numbers, and again, like you, Pastor Will, I looked at numbers. If we save literally $5 a week for 52 weeks, that's 2 registrations. Can you imagine what we can do with $5 a week for 52 weeks? That covers 2 men at the convocation. If every man there saved $5 a week, we couldn't fit enough people in that room. 5. I'm not saying a lot. We waste $5 on junk a week.
Starbucks,
right?
Starbucks.
For $5 a week, we will double.
That ain't no waste.
$5 a week.
I wanted somebody to say it.
If we're looking at guys, if you guys want to get there, it sounds crazy. $5 a week can get you and someone else there on premises. Now you may have to kind of make some adjustments in regards to lodging and all that stuff. It's $5.
This ain't no waste.
I'm gonna leave it at that. $5 a week.
Hey, one other thing I wanted to bring up though is how accurate the prophet was in the room. I said to Apostle myself, I know, and I'm not taking nothing away from no other prophet that we had or ever had at the convocation, but if he ain't the resident prophet now for that convocation, that man wrecked the house.
On point.
I mean, he was so accurate. People was just falling out and crying and everything. Men all over the place.
Yep.
Yeah.
Men all over the place. And then when he told the one brother about the jet,
yeah,
and then he told the other brother about it, and didn't even know that both the brothers went to go go across the street to see about a jet. I was like, this guy here, and that's all I know.
Yeah.
That's all.
Prophet Thornton is the truth.
And the thing about, they didn't go see about it; they were looking to buy it.
Yeah.
These brothers were deep, but we can do that. We can do that. So that's my focus.
So if we have any closing remarks, what would you say? Your major takeaway is going into the next year, because we have a year to prepare. What are you going to be focusing on the most between now and the next convocation that you said, you know what, if there's anything that I'm going to take away from this convocation, what's that one thing? Again, it could be a number of things, but that's one thing that kind of knocks it. Said, wait a minute, you know what? That's that one thing I got to work on. What's that one thing for you that you're going to work on going into the next convocation where your life has changed, was transformed? What would that one thing be?
Another dimension in God.
I hear it. Anybody else?
For me,
go ahead.
No, after you, Pastor Jonathan, you go ahead, sir.
I was going to say, in between that time, application, just applying. Pastor Will, I was looking at some notes that I took. One of the things you said, you must learn to walk or live at a pace that allows time for scripture consideration and personal evaluation to ensure that your confession and actions are indicative of walking by faith. Like wisdom like that, even talking about how we are to respond. I want that to be a part of my lifestyle and a part of my discipline. And it would be my desire that by that this time next year, that I can truly say that that's been a part of my walk and that's been a part of my application. You know, just that wisdom that we got from that convocation.
You know, I was going to say, I'm saying same thing. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. No, you go ahead. I'm sorry.
I talked enough already. I'm done.
But I'm saying the same thing as you and Pastor Hall, and I'm just saying diligence. You know, diligence. You know, that's you hit that phrase. You hit that phrase exactly the way I wrote it. Now you guys know hookup. You know, you could shoot me an email on my email address, pastorwill@iprevail.com.
Okay.
Yo.
I copy my notes. So you can copy the notes.
Yes, sir.
You about to get bombarded with a whole bunch of emails now that you mentioned it.
I'm talking to you guys on the Zoom, man.
Yeah.
I just wanted to plug Pastor Marcus Gill really quickly. I know a lot of people in our circle may not have been familiar with him, but he's a world-renowned powerhouse. And something that stuck out, listen to me. Something that stuck out to me is, I think it was during a day session, someone, asked him about how do you manage, how do you navigate, stepping in rooms where you're the youngest, or you might not be viewed as, qualified. And I know, someone who's watching me right now says, "Oh, Eddie's pretty comfortable up here. I make myself do this stuff," but something that he said though is one, and this is, I'm paraphrasing, but one, he knows who he is. And he knows who God has called him to be. And that's important. That's foremost. But something else that he said that I think we as men have to remember too is it's important to know who you are and how to walk, but stay humble.
Yeah.
And he said he stayed humble, and he still did what he was called to do, but he stayed humble, and he yielded to those when he was supposed to, those who were in charge or higher than him, and he watched God elevate him that way. That's something that I know that I will make sure that I'm mindful of. That's something that even as I walk in throughout this year, as I enter rooms that I might not have been qualified to be in, as I enter conversations that I might not have felt comfortable having before, is I'm going to stay humble, and I'm going to watch God open doors. And I believe as a result of that, I'm gonna catch some fish that wouldn't necessarily be swimming in our direction. And our convocation, our church, our fellowship will grow as a result of that.
Amen.
Amen.
I'm gonna throw in Pastor Will, you talked about the robber and the thief. I'm going to control the controllables to make sure that I put parameters around my family, around myself, around what I do, to make sure that the thief doesn't have a chance. And I'll make sure I move in such a way that the thief doesn't have a chance. So I'm not going to leave a window open for the thief to get in. I'm going to make sure I secure all areas. And there's been security. You secure all areas, all doors. I work with Pastor Hall sometimes, and Pastor Hall says, I'll make sure all the doors are closed. So when he walks down the hallway, he knows all doors are closed. Everything's right. If the door's open, wait a minute, something's wrong. He knows his attention is. So when you're walking down the hallway, he says, shut all the doors. So I'm going to shut all the doors, shut all the windows to make sure the thief doesn't have a chance to come into my arena and affect anything that I have in my work.
Closed doors, secure room.
There it is.
It's been checked.
From security himself.
Right.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I was gonna say for me, man, I just know I got more work to do. It's for just being consistent. I know for biggest takeaway for me from Pastor Gill, he had spoke about when you go to the gas station, you don't just fill up your car and drive around the gas station. You fill up and go out. So for me, it's just applying that word and just being consistent with it. So
love it, love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Mr. Cam, talk to me.
I think, honestly, for me, I think it's I'm gonna work on and build my witness. I think that me personally, I want to be able to witness to many more men, and have them, accept their role in their rightful place. within, God, their family, their local church. Hopefully it's ours, and their community. I definitely want to step up my witness.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it.
I'm with you.
I believe probably we have Pastor Coleman and Pastor Will, and then we'll pretty much we'll wrap it up.
Oh, well, I already said something, but I also wanted to say this. Honor. I never knew I ever had the opportunity to meet Bishop Ben, but the way Apostle honored him,
yeah,
I could feel his spirit. I felt like I knew him, and because of the level of excellence that he was honored. And so I would take away from the importance of honor and how you can also you can impart the memory of someone that imparted to another person, and how important honor is. So that was very left a mark and impression on me, just to see that the level of excellence to honor him.
Yes, sir.
That's good. That's really good.
I'm going back to some of the things that Bishop taught us in preparing for the first call to conquer, and then I'm absolutely sure without a doubt.
Love it,
man.
Love it. Love it. I can honestly tell you that this right here, this recap kind of reminds me of why we do what we do. So again, if you're not there, if you're unable to if you have any questions, reach out to us. I promise you, we'll be able to give you as much information as possible to make sure you have everything you need to be at that very next convocation. Because again, this is our halftime when we get a chance to go in and do what's needed to make the situation work. Elder Maurice Brown says, application, diligence, staying humble, control what I can control, being consistent, being a witness. All those things are part of what we learned. So my prayer is that you were able to get a portion, a slither of what was there, and want to be in the room next time. Again, I believe this is what we have here. Again, if we have any closing remarks, but again, this is what we had to be able to share with you, the recap of what we had with the convocation. Any closing remarks?
Yeah,
yes,
sir. You have the time, by the way. That's right. I got it. Hold
on.
Let me get it up. I don't know if you can see.
Oh, I was hating a little bit. I was hating a little bit.
I can't really see it too well, but
you might have the young brother got his watch.
There you go.
The young brother got his watch. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Prevail in many areas
with the family. I love it.
In many areas. So, but no, for the people that close up. There we go. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Bling blow. Bling blow.
But for those, this is another part of the fun element of coming to these convocations. Got some nice parting gifts for you.
Definitely.
That's all I know.
That's all I know.
Love it. So again,
my last thing is I can't wait to see what next year is going to be. In the words of our apostle, it's only going to get gooder and gooder.
You might need a whole other building. Now, from what I can see, it might be another building. I can promise you.
Yeah,
yes, sir. Anybody else? All right, I believe that's it, guys. Appreciate you guys. Again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. We'll do what we can. This was our recap to put this all back together from what we started before. This was necessary. This was a surgery that we needed, and we pray that any man who has a question about the convocation, reach out to us, and I promise you, this will be well worth it. So thank you for what you do. Thank you for how you do it. This is the Men with the Man to Holy Convocation recap with the brothers who were here. We thank you for your time. God bless. Take care, and we'll see you again. Have a good one, guys.